Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Stephen Follows Instructions. This is a series where I find some instructions somewhere on the internet and I try to follow them. Hilarity ensues. So mostly my attempts to follow instructions fail, but I have high hopes for this one. What I'm going to be using is this article. It's from CSS Tricks. It's called How to Create a Browser Extension. Now, the browser in question is going to be Chrome. Now, I usually use Firefox, and that's what I do most of my work in, but that's okay. We'll do Chrome. He says that there will be and the author is Lars Kolker. So Lars says that there will be future versions telling me how to make browser extensions for other browsers as well, so I'll be watching for those. So, okay, what is a browser extension? Well, it's a little add-on that you can put into your browser that will do neat stuff for you. So what we're going to be making here is something called Transcribers of Reddit. And it's going to improve Reddit's accessibility by moving specific comments to the bottom of the to the top of the comment section and adding Araya attributes for screen readers. So Reddit is a website. So let's have a look at Reddit. And it's a good website. As you can see here, and who knows what's here, so it has stuff very often with images, and you can look at each of these, and now there's a whole bunch of comments underneath, usually thousands of comments, and so this is going to adjust our view of this post. How's that going to work? Well, we're going to see. Now, Araya, I've forgotten what it stands for, but I can find out really quickly. Oh, jeez. So there's a casino called Araya, but that's not what we mean here. So I'll just make my search a bit better. Accessible, rich internet applications. A set of attributes that define ways to make web content and web applications, especially those developed in JavaScript, more accessible to people with disabilities. So, definitely a good thing to be doing, so something worthwhile. So, what's next? The whole idea is that you'll get a nice introduction for how to develop a browser extension. We'll start by creating it for Chromium-based browsers, Chrome, Edge, Brave, etc. But in the future, we'll port the extension to work with Firefox, which is what I use, and Safari, which nobody uses. Okay, no, just kidding. All right, so there's the GitHub repo for what we're doing. So this is going to be all of the stuff that we're creating. If we need to go check the original source, etc., that's where we'll look. So I just thought I'd put my image on the screen here just in time to cough. These are pretty low production videos, folks. So that's just the way it works. Okay, so create a working directory. So we need a folder and give it a name. So I'm going to copy this. Now what I think I'll do first of all is make this bigger so you can read the stuff as I follow along. Alright, so that's good. Now I will be using an application called Visual Studio Code, or VS Code. I don't see it here. The new, I'm on Windows 11, and the new Windows 11 start menu is awful. I'm sorry, it's awful. There we go. So yeah, I always have to be searching for stuff. So there's Video Studio Code. So I'm going to open a folder, and it's going to be a new folder. So I put everything in code projects, and then I'm going to create a new folder, which I'll call, like him, transcribers of Reddit. Okay, so I'll select the folder, and now I'm in a brand new folder. Yes, I trust the author because that's me. Okay, so I don't need to get started. So if you don't use Visual Studio Code, I recommend that you do. As always with Visual Studio Code, the directory is over here on the left hand side, and then here on the right hand side is the big working area, and you can also run a terminal down here. I'm not sure if we'll be running a terminal for this project, but we'll see. And then finally, let's get Chrome started up. So here's Chrome, which I have just starting at my start pages. Okay, and I just actually, I was doing another project and I had to install Adobe Acrobat, and I forgot about it. So it's been installing in the background through the day, and I guess it's done. So see, Acrobat added an extension for Chrome. Same sort of thing, right? So yeah. All right. Okay. Never mind Acrobat. So this is Chrome. Just, it's a browser, right? All right. So we'll minimize that. We'll minimize this, and let's move on. So we've created a working directory, and then create another folder inside that one named source for our source code. Still not big enough. There, that's bigger. So now you can see it. So let's do that. Now, I had a way of making stuff in this look bigger too, but I've forgotten what it was. Let's find that, because it's really helpful. Make text in VS Code big. Control Shift P, right, okay. I think that was it. Control Shift P, right. Oh, and then I have to go back to my instructions again. Type settings, okay, and then under user text editor, okay, so Control Shift P, I have to do that again. Type settings, and then it's here somewhere. Forgotten what it was. So, jeez. Well, I have to do this all again. Now, under user text editor font, find font size. Okay, user text editor font, find font size. See, why does it go away? Control Shift P, type settings. All right. And then user something font size, user. My memory's not what it should be. User text editor. Okay. User text editor. So you'd think these would be in alphabetical order. User. Don't have text editor. Oh, that's really annoying. User. Okay, and that's user. Okay, so user. I'm not finding text editor in here anywhere. How annoying. Settings. Well, okay, so here's some really high quality video content for you. So code user not seeing text editor. Oh, here it is. Font size 15. Let's make it 30. And we'll do that to 30. Alright, let's save that. There we go. That's bigger. Now we can use it. Alright, perfect. Sorry about that, folks. Trying to work on half memory here. Alright, I'll try to pay more attention to what I'm doing. Alright, so we can get rid of that. Alright, so we're in transcribers of Reddit. We need to create a new folder, src. And notice our interface isn't really any bigger. I wonder if that can be made bigger. There we go. Alright, so, and I just click on this folder thing for a new folder. And there we go. Alright, what's next? I'm 11 minutes in and I've followed one instruction so far. Alright, so we can close this off. Okay, so next. Okay, so source for our source code. Next, define the entry point. That's the file that contains general information about the extension. It can be a manifest.json file located in the source code. In it, let's add the following 3 properties. Kind of interesting, we just edited a very similar sort of file to make the text bigger in VS Code. So we're going to create a new file. That's one of these thingies here. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to call it manifest.json. Manifest.json. Okay. And now I'm editing it. And I'm just going to paste what I put in there. Let's just shift this a bit so we can see, right? So the name just goes here. Alright, so there we go. Good. And let's save that. Control S. It doesn't say save, but you know, save. It's so much easier if you save. Alright, what's next? Similar to version in NPM or Node, defines what APIs are available or not, etc. We're going to work on the bleeding edge and use the latest version, manifest version 3. So that's the first thing up here. Then we have the name, and then this is the version of our extension. So that's what we're telling us here. Okay. More manifest.json information. So there's a lot more we can add. So let's do that. For example, we can provide a description that explains what the extension does. Always a good idea. We can supply icons and a web address that the Chrome Web Store points to on the extensions page. All right. So let's add these to our extension. Now this is kind of weird that he's got these in the brackets like this, but they actually belong inside the extension, I'm pretty sure, or inside the file itself. So I'm going to copy these, and you see there are the brackets, and in this bracket I prefer to put them like that. So, and we need to be careful here. You see how each line finishes with a comma. Right, so this is the typical syntax for a JSON file, right? You have the name of the field or property in quotation marks, and then you have a colon, and then you have the value in quotation marks, unless it's just a number, in which case you just leave it as a number. And then you have a comma. And so that's how the whole file goes. So I'm going to put the rest of these things in. So I just pasted them in, right? So version 1.0 description, and then the icons, and you notice that the indenting went off a bit. So I'm just going to make that clean. There we go. So all I did there to do the indenting is I highlighted everything, then I pressed tab, and it moves everything the direction I want it to go. So now everything's nice and neat. Notice all my commas are there. All right. And Control S to save. All right. So yeah, it's important to know the kind of file that you're working with. So okay, here the icons are used in lots of places. Okay, so I don't have these icons yet, but somewhere I'm going to have a directory with these icons in it. So as the doc stated, it's best to provide 3 versions of the same icon in different ones. Feel free to use the ones in the GitHub repository for this example. So let's look at the GitHub repository and see. Yeah, okay, so source images logo, right? So he hasn't actually told us to do this, but let's do this. We need to make a directory here and then logo, and then put these things in it. So let's do that. So we'll come back to, funny how, so often they just skip steps, right? But okay. So source, so here we are, we're going to add a directory, images, and now we're going to go to that directory and we're going to add a directory logo. Okay, and we're going to go to that directory. And so we'll just close this off. Now I'm going to need to, normally I would just clone the repository. So actually, why don't I do that? And well, I don't know. No, let's just save the images. So here's the image. Okay, so there it is. And now we can download it. I wonder if I can just download all of them. Seems to me there's a way. Whatever. Okay, download. Alright, so there I can download this image. I'm going to save. Let's save page as. And so I'm going to go to E, code project, transcribers, source, images, logo, and save. Alright, and again, this is doing it the long way. Download. Oh, this is something different. Save page as. And I don't need to go through all the directories again because it remembers. One of the things I like about Firefox. Okay, download. I wonder why there's 6. There must be. Save images. Okay. 256. Right. There must be. Just different sizes. So what sizes did I say I had? I've forgotten already. So let's take a look. 16, 48, and 128. So, and of course, those aren't the sizes that I downloaded. Okay, so let's come back here. 16, 48, or 128. Well, there's 2 of them. So let's download the 48. Download. Save images. 48. Alright, so I've got my images downloaded. Again, normally I would just clone the entire thing here, but I want to go step by step through this just to make sure, right? Alright, so let's go back to the instructions. Of course, when I'm saying I went step by step, of course, I did a step that was left out of the instructions, but oh well. Okay. Feel free to use the ones in the GitHub repository. I did. Now, the homepage URL can be used to connect your website with the extension button, including the link will be displayed. Right. So I can change that to my own website later if I ever make my own version of this extension. For now, I'll just leave his. Setting permissions. Okay. One major advantage extensions have is their APIs allow you to interact directly with the browser. Yes, but we explicitly have to give the extension those permissions, which also goes in the manifest. Now you see, remember here, he didn't tell us exactly how to put this in, but you see how he's put this in. Now, after homepage URL, we're going to add permissions. Note the comma here, which he hasn't mentioned explicitly. So this is a different kind of thing for a JSON file. It's not dramatically different, but let's first of all make sure we have the comma here. All right, and now we'll paste this in, permissions. So this is the name of our variable, and then the colon. Now instead of a value, we actually have an array of values. So there's one opening, square bracket opening the array, and now we have a list of values separated by commas, right? And then typically we'd put a comma after that if we had more stuff after, but we don't. What I don't seem to have, oh, there it is. Where's my closing? Oh. All of this should be, yeah, there we go. All of that should be inside a big bracket, yeah. Okay, and again, I like to have these, I like to line them up. But a lot of people will indent it, but I like it lined up. I'm different that way. Control S to save. Okay, back to our instructions. So we've added that. So the permissions, we've given it permission for storage and for web navigation. Okay. Okay, so we'll get to, okay, we need to, Reddit is a single page application. We need to catch this interaction. Okay. Well, that's kind of weird. Explanation. It's only in certain ones though. Okay, I don't know why he's close explanation. Maybe he has open explanation somewhere. Yeah, kind of weird. Alright, doesn't matter. Okay, the browser might display a warning to the user to accept the permissions. No problem. When we hit that, we'll just accept the permissions. Alright, managing translations. Browser extensions have built-in internalization, I18N API. Have a built-in internalization API. It allows you to manage translations for multiple languages. Here's the list. There's a big long list. To use the API, we have to define our translations in default language right in the manifest JSON file. Default locale. So in programming, a locale is any feature that will be local to the local user, and most particularly the locale will be defined as a language, in this case English. So we'll define that. So let's put our comma here and then put that in default locale. All right, moving along. Okay, back to the instructions. Okay, our translations are defined inside the locales directory. Okay, so you see, we could create this locales directory and then have messages inside that locales. That's really cool. I like that a lot. So let's build that in. I should use that in my own programming. I have something similar to that, but it's not exactly the same. So let's go back up here to transcribers of Reddit. We'll create a folder. See, it was just underscore locales, right? Yeah. And then English, French, and then messages.json in each of those. So first of all, let's create those directories. So we'll come back here. So locales, oh, we forgot to save. Let's Control S to save. There we go. Notice the little dot goes away. All right. So directory or folder. Why is it? That's kind of weird. Oh, I see. I hate that open editors thing. Okay, so let's add a new folder. Underscore locales. The underscore is a convention. It's a directory that's going to be used internally in the program only. and it isn't something that outside stuff would see normally. And now inside locales, we'll make en, en, and fr. Okay, so now we have these two. Now we're probably going to make these messages files here, so let's go back. So a translation file consists of multiple parts. The translation key, yep, the actual message, optionally a description, and optionally a placeholder to use dynamic content inside a translation. It's exactly what I did in Grasshopper. So here's an example that pulls all that together. So user greeting, right? That's the key. So if your translator encounters user greetings somewhere in the programming and the locale is set to English, now it'll say good, and then it'll put in some values, right? Some placeholders. So the description here, now the placeholders, daytime, you notice it's daytime surrounded by dollar signs. So the daytime, the content will be $1, the example will be morning. Similarly, user, the content will be $1, the example will be Lars. You can set that content, $1, to whatever you want. Now we're just using some demo content for now. But you can actually use programs, other functions in the program to define those. So right now, we'll take this, and this will be my messages.json file for English. I'm pretty sure. He hasn't said that yet, but I'm pretty sure. So the example property is optional. It can be used to give translators a hint to what value the placeholder should be, but it's not actually displayed. Okay. So here, we're not actually, okay, this is our actual messages.json file. So we're not actually using any placeholders here, but see, name, message, description, message, etc. So this is the key, and then this is, I'm not sure how that worked. Message, good, okay. Oh, this is the direct translation. Message is whatever the direct translation is. So if you see description, then put this string into where the description is. All right, so let's make this our messages JSON file. All right, so we'll copy this. And so we're going to go into the English directory, make a new file, and call it messages.json, and then put it in here. And for the French, it'll be exactly the same, except these messages will be in French. Now I wonder if he's actually given me the text or not. And he has not. Okay. Okay, so let's go to the French. We'll create a file, messages.json, create it. Now we'll put this file in. Now, let's see now. Transcribers of Reddit, we'll leave that the same. So I don't want to do French translation at the moment, but here we go. Let's see what this does. So this is bad, but it's fast, and I'm going to do it this way. So let's just quickly go to translate. All right, so here's my my French translation copy, and I'll just put that in here. settings. I don't know what the word setting is in French. General settings, show comment, etc. I'll do those later. All right. So we need to save these now. Control S. Control S. You know, if you're ever working on a project and you have volunteers, having them do one of these messages files is a really good way to get somebody involved where they don't need a whole lot of technical knowledge, but they can do something really useful, even if they don't speak the language, although it really helps if they do, right? But they can do these translations for you, and it gives them a way in, you know, to be helping out with the software, and it saves you a lot of effort. So, okay, so setting background, setting border, etc. Right? Okay, better say that again. All right, so let's continue on. Okay, probably won't need those anymore. So I'll just close that. All right. Using translations inside the manifest. Okay. So now we're going to update our manifest with the translated versions. Very good. Okay. So we need to adjust the manifest file to make sure everything is translated. So instead of spelling out the actual name, we use this, 2 spaces, and then the name of the thing and the 2 spaces again. So let's do that. So we'll put that, I don't need that. So let's put that into our messages.json file. So we'll come back to manifest.json. Okay, so back up here. Where'd it go? Here it is. Name and description. So name and description. And then, okay. Now I don't need description anymore. This old version of the description anymore. Okay, so manifest version equals 3. So here I'm using the variable. There I'm using the variable. Make sure I have a comma. Boy, that really is large, isn't it? But you know, it's for you to see, not for me to have it easy to work with. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, so that's the old version of the name. I wondered where that went. So, okay, commas on the end of everything. Yep, so name and description using this variable, where the variable is defined. See? So, up here, message name and description. So, how did we put it together? MSG name, MSG description. So, interestingly, right? So this MSG corresponds to our messages JSON. I wonder how it knows how to do that. We'll save this. Maybe he tells us, because the name doesn't translate exactly, right? Okay, applying this syntax uses the corresponding translation in our messages file. For example, MSG name uses the name translation. So it's just MSG, I guess, just tells us it's the message. That's not the way I would do it. I would just, well, I can see why, but you know, like MSG is arbitrary. It's really arbitrary, and I'd want to do that differently, using something less arbitrary. But that's just me, and the world is not going to change my understanding of. It's not going to change JavaScript to my understanding. Applying translations in an HTML file takes a little JavaScript. Here we go. Chrome I18N, which again is whatever that was. It was the built-in internalization I18N. So Chrome built-in internalization uses a function called getMessageName. And so this entire thing is going to return the variable name for whatever our localization is. So, and placeholders can be done in a similar way. So yeah, so get message, user greeting. So these are our variables, right, that we could define on the fly as we needed to. It'd be a pain in the butt to apply translations to all elements in this way, but we can write a little script that performs the translation based on the data attribute. Okay, I'm not really seeing it as being a pain in the butt, but okay. So let's create a new JS folder inside the source directory, and then we'll add a little utility.js file to it. Okay, so let's do that. So let's go to source. So I can close this. Okay, source. Just source. I don't need the other stuff. Okay, now I'll make a directory or folder, JS. And then inside JS, I'm going to make a file called util.js. Okay, so util.js. And this is the content. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so making my file util.js. So we'll paste that in. Let's see what we've got. Constant I18 and query selector all data internal. That's probably internationalized or maybe internal, not sure. For each message, message inner HTML means get message. So basically it's just going to fill in all my messages for me all at once. And then accept languages, and then it's going to define what languages there are to accept. All right. So, okay. I'm not sure exactly what's happening here, but it's defining messages. Okay, so it's defining variables called msg.innerHTML. It's going to create one of those for each message in the data set. And then for each localization it finds, it's going to say, I accept that language. Something like that. If there's more involved here, we'll learn about it. If there's not, we won't. Okay, once that script is added to an HTML page, we can add the data-intl attribute to an element to set its content. Okay. Oh, neat. So, for example, okay, so here we have just a plain button, and then the data saying where to find its content, and then after we run that JavaScript, it actually puts the text in here for us based on whatever the current locale is. HTML language equals English. So right, so we've declared what the language is. Oh, and it actually declares what the language is here as well. All right, so that's kind of neat. So we'll watch for that as we do our execution. All right. Before we dive into actual programming, we need to create two pages. One, an options page that contains user settings, and two, a pop-up page that opens when interacting with the extension icon right next to our address bar. Okay. This page can be used for various scenarios, for example, for displaying stats or quick settings. All right. So, here are the folders and files we need in order to make these pages. So some CSS, some pop-up. This is our pop-up page, and this is our options page. Okay. CSS contains plain CSS, nothing more. You can copy and paste the styles from the GitHub repository for this project. Okay, so we're going to have to do that. So let's do that first. So there's a bunch of stuff here, like you can copy and paste. Right? What he means is you need to copy and paste. All right, so let's set this up. So source, CSS, pop-up, and options. So let's go here. So source, we need 3 directories. CSS, that's 1. And pop-up and options. All right. Now in CSS, we will need a CSS file probably. How has he described it? Paintbucket.css is the name of the file that we're going to be creating here. So paintbucket.css. So let's make our file. New file. Paintbucket.css. And the content for that file is going to come from that GitHub repository again. So let's go to that. Did I close it already? Let's unclose it. Reopen closed tab. Oh, that was the Google Translate. Did I? No. Now rats. I have to find his GitHub page again. Let's Control H it. And okay, well, that's not here we go about the start of language family tree and pictures. Come on, you stupid thing. By last visited. Okay. Here we go. Lars 418 Tor extension. There we go. Source. I can get rid of the history now. CSS. So paintbucket.css. Alright, so there's a bunch of CSS in here. He's right. We already know how to do CSS, right? If not, well, okay. Actually, click on raw. And or maybe I can just copy it. I might have an option to just copy. Open, fork, edit, blame, raw. No, I can't. So raw. I need to open the raw because otherwise I'll get things like line numbers and stuff. So Control C, I'll copy all of that. Let's put that in paintbucket.css and we'll save it. All right, now in options, now I'm going to need to make a file. So the name of the file in options is going to be okay, here we go. Popup.css and options.css. Okay. So for options, it's options.css. Okay, so options.css. Okay. And now we're in it. And now let's get the content from GitHub. So we'll back out of this. All right, so options.css, and again raw, so that we get the raw code. Ooh, there's quite a bit in there. So it's doing all kinds of stuff, right? You know, it's giving us transforms, it's rounding our corners, it's giving us box shadows. So obviously he spent quite a bit of time making it look pretty. Time well spent, I might add. But beyond the scope of this for teaching purposes. But again, you know, I've covered CSS elsewhere, you've covered CSS elsewhere. We don't need to do that. Okay, pop-up again. It's going to be popup.css. And so we'll go back to the source. Back out of there, back out of there, back out of there. Popup.css. We'll grab the raw. Ooh, this is small. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I probably don't want a whole lot of CSS for the pop-up because it's just a pop-up. All right, so let's put that into our code. We'll save, Control S. All right, so now we've done that line of instruction, right? So you can copy and paste the styles. No, we've done that. Okay. Note the pop-up is not a tab and its size depends on the content in it. If you want to fix pop-up, you can set the width and height properties on the HTML element, but we don't care about that, so we won't. Now, creating the pop-up. Here's an HTML skeleton that links the CSS and JavaScript files and adds a headline and button inside the body. Okay, so it's just a plain web page. Here's the translation script, the util.js that we had already put in there, and Popup Js, we don't have that defined yet. And now here's the body, and where's the CSS? Oh yeah, okay, so we're inheriting this paint bucket CSS plus the pop-up CSS. So, and now here's the actual content, no problem. So what's this called? We don't know what it's called yet. But I'll bet you it's popup.html. How do I know that? Well, let's go back here. Popup.html, and there it is. It's exactly the same, right? Yeah, there's okay, so slightly different, right? Here ID equals who am I, and now the internationalization, remember? Now is that here in this as well? No, well, ID equals title, and here's the internationalization. So this will probably change later on. So let's copy it from here, and that'll save us making the change for later. So this is popup.html. So we'll put it in the right place. See, again, he's skipped a bunch of instructions. If we weren't on the ball, we wouldn't know, right? So popup.html. Well, a complete set of instructions should tell us where to put this file and what to call it, but he didn't do that. All right. Maybe he'll tell us later, but right now he hasn't told us that. Oh well, okay, so the H1 contains the extension name and version, etc., etc. The headline will not be filled with the translation because it lacks a data-intl attribute. And so now we need to populate our popup.js file. So now, okay, the pop-up page. Okay, so pop-up, we need to populate our popup.js file. What he means is we need to create our popup.js file and put content in it. This is the content. So get the title, get the settings button, get the manifest, and now we'll set the title based on the manifest name and version. Okay, oh yeah, okay, so Chrome runtime get manifest. We're using Chrome to actually read in everything from the manifest. And now this is the standard way in JavaScript of putting variables in. You notice the little back tick there, right? That indicates a template. Now when we use a template, we can use any variables that we've defined in a JSON file. And that's what's going on here. So that's the content, and now here we're going to have we're going to add an event listener. So if somebody clicks on it, add an event listener for click, it's going to run this open options page. No problem. So I assume open options page is something internal to Chrome itself. Alright, so this will be called popup.js. Or no, it'll be called popup.js. So let's define it. We'll make the file, give it a name, popup.js, and put all of this into it, and save it, and we're good. Alright, so pop-up page is done. Your CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. So let's come back here then, and okay, so the pop-up page, but the extension doesn't know it exists yet. Okay, so we have to register the pop-up by appending the following property to the manifest.json file. Action, right? Default pop-up. Open up our pop-up, and default icon. Here are our icons. Okay, so we'll add all of this to our manifest.json file. So let's come back here. Manifest.json. Here it is. All right. So we're going to scroll down to the bottom. Let's make sure we have a comma here, and now we'll add. Now here, remember here we have the name of a variable, and then this indicates that we have a list. Here we have the name of a variable, and then this indicates that we have what's known as a hash, or just more standard JSON, right? So here's a sub variable with a value, a sub variable with a value. Here we have a sub variable. In fact, we have 3 sub variables. Okay, and it sort of creates this tree or document object model with all of these variables, and these are the things that we can actually access when we read the manifest file into whatever we're using on our browser. So let's save this. Control S. Okay. And again, don't like it when the default JSON, right? So I want this here. That'll make me happier. It lines up nice, see? All right. Okay. Let's see what's next then. Let's save this again. Okay. We're well underway here. Creating the options page. So now if you're wondering what this thing will do, this actions, right? You see all these icons up here, right? These are all the icons for my different extensions or add-ons, right? Like this thing here takes my text and converts it into a nice reader-friendly version, etc. So the icon that I've used will show up at the top here. And when I click on it, the little pop-up will come up. I think. Or maybe when we right-click on it. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it works in Chrome. It's going to be a little bit different in Chrome than for Firefox. All right, so where were we? Let's find where we were. Okay, past here, passed here. Creating the options page. So this is options.html. Okay, so it's going to be exactly the same as before. So let's do this. We'll create options.html. Options.html, and we'll get that content just like before. We'll just get it from the GitHub repository. And again, I'm just snagging the actual text. Normally I would just clone the whole thing, but okay, options.html and raw. So right, so there's a bunch of stuff here that's not going to be in here yet. I'll bet you. There's a bunch of stuff here that's not in here. Oh, well, no, that looks like pretty much everything, actually, including all of this SVG, which is going to describe some stuff. An icon provided by feathericons.com. So, yeah, they're getting fancy with an SVG icon there. I don't know if it's strictly necessary to do an SVG icon. There's the full version of it, right? And these are all, it draws a line, and then these are all the points where that line should go from point to point to point to point. All right, so let's put that in options.html. Let's save that, and we're going to need an options.js. So let's make that options.js. And let's see what we have in the GitHub for that. I know we have something for sure. Okay, so options.js. Okay, we'll get the raw for that. Well, before we do that, let's have a look and see what he says. Okay, so there's the HTML. There are no options yet. Okay. First, we define. Okay, we need to write the script for the options page. Oh, okay, so he's going to step us through writing that script. That's fine. First, we need to define variables to access our wrappers and default settings inside options.js. Freezing our default settings prevents us from accidentally modifying them later. So let's see. Let's make this a bit bigger so we can look at it. Okay, so where's the freezing happening? I don't see it happening. Yeah. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, so there's the freezing that he's just described. All right. And then content, general selection, general get element by ID, general options wrapper. Okay, so that's something inside Chrome. Next, we need to load the saved settings. We can use the previously registered storage API for that. So we need to define if we want to store the data locally, chrome.storage.local, or sync settings through all devices the end user is logged into, chrome.storage.sync. Let's go with local storage for this project. Okay, and let's see if he's done that. Chrome storage.local. Okay. So we'll come back here. Retrieving values needs to be done using the get method. Okay, so chrome.storage.local get, and now we're going to get the settings from local storage, and then a callback containing the values. Okay, so get settings. So if there are settings, okay, so we'll look at the options. If there are settings, we'll use those. Otherwise, we'll use the default settings. This is an if-then kind of expression. And then if there are not settings as well, then we're going to need to set our settings to the default settings. All right. So you see how that works, right? Either we get the settings or we get the default settings. And if there aren't settings, then we'll make our settings the default settings. And now, create and display options. Okay, so now we're defining a constant. General options as an object with keys. Start with advanced. I don't know exactly what we're doing here. But there's a JSON file somewhere, or JSON data somewhere. Keys is like the key and the value in those JSON files, right? So it's getting the keys, which defines all the options, and then it's going to filter them to not have the advanced options. Tricky JavaScript here. This is more advanced than you'll get in your typical learn how to do JavaScript course. And then general options for each option that we've just gotten. Create the option, or run the function called create option, and yeah, run that function. So let's see if we've got all this here. So here we are. We got our settings, just like he said. Here's our options, right? Okay, constant general options is the keys. Advanced options, okay, yeah, you see he didn't mention advanced options here, just general options. And then, so general options map. You see he's got general options for each. Map will do pretty much the same thing. It's basically, we're going to do it for each one of these options. For each option, we're going to run create option, right? But then we're going to put the result into general options. So it'll be general option this, general option that. Similarly, for advanced options, for each option, we're going to run create option and then put that into advanced options dot option dot option dot option. And then end region. Okay, don't know what. Oh, region load settings. Okay. And then the next region on our page, I guess, helper function. So he's going to tell us about that now. Okay. To render the options, oh yeah, we have to run that create option function. That's probably down below a bit further now. Yeah, there it is. Create option. So basically, it's going to create option is going to write some HTML. Notice that back tick there. So we're running. This is a template. We're going to put this value into the template for setting, etc. And then we're going to give it. So that's, we're defining a label here, and then the content, and then ending the label, and then input. So that'll be an input box, checkbox from the looks of it. And here's the actual script, and then the name of it, the setting. Lots of loops and templating being used here. This is very interesting. And then here's the close tick to end our template. So all of this, see where it goes back to. Yeah. See, it starts here. Ignore this stuff because it's inside a function name, and goes all the way down to here. All of that's a single template, and it's going to be filled by the values either in our settings object or a manifest document, or wherever the data is located. I think it's all coming from the settings. Yeah, it's all coming from the settings object, right? So for the setting, yeah. For setting, yeah, for each setting, do this. So cool. Complex, but really cool. All right. But just as an aside, you don't need all that complexity in order to make an extension, right? A lot of that complexity is just writing shorter JavaScript rather than stuff you have to do in order to write an extension. So it's really handy to have this, right? But you could have just written option, 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 but it'd be really hard to maintain. It'd be really hard to even to read. So this basically, you're doing the same thing for each option, and so you can just run it through a loop with a template. Okay, and then function update setting. This is what's going to happen when I press the key. So, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. So, okay, so we're running through here. This is our template. See, here it begins and goes on and it goes on, and here it ends. It's not the most obvious syntax in the world, is it? So, but there's our template, right? So all of that is basically a string of HTML that we're using these things, in this case an actual function, or sometimes just a value to put in the contents. And basically anytime we run create option, basically we're filling in this template and returning this template. Alright, so here's the rest of it. Oh, and there's some extra here that's okay. Constant toggle switch. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. Here's the toggle switch on key down, input on change. So we've created some, so okay, that's kind of cool. So we've created the option. So there's the text that we'll use, and we'll show that. But we're also giving our option some functionality. So if something changes, for example, do this. If you press a key, then do that. We're creating an object, not just a string. It's an object that has a string, but it also has some functions. And then wrapper append child. Not sure exactly what he's doing there, but there's a wrapper. Settings wrapper, setting wrapper, okay. All right. The append child thing. So you have the wrapper with all of your options, and so you define your option, and then you append it to the wrapper. And each time you define an option, you append it to the wrapper. Again, doesn't need to be exactly like that, but so all of this then is options.js. We're going to see all this, assuming this works. We'll see all this come out in the actual final product, so I'm not too worried. So Control S. All right. I think that's a lot of our code now is done. Certainly we've got an extension now. It's just all that we need now is to actually perform the functionality. Okay, inside the onChange event listener of our switch, aka the radio button, we call the function update setting. This will write the updated version of the radio button into the storage. So here we make use of the set function, update setting. Okay, so let's find that here. Here it is down here, update setting. Okay, Chrome storage local get, right? And then now we're going to Chrome storage local set the settings, whatever the settings are, key and value. So set all the other settings plus this new key and value. All right, cool, so cool. Excuse me. Once again, we need to inform the extension about our options page by appending the following entry to manifest.json. Okay, so options UI, here it is, open in tab true, page options.options.html. All right, so let's add that to manifest.json. Okay. Options, okay, UI, let's put this here. Okay, very good. This comma here, not strictly necessary, that's why it's got the little squiggly. Sometimes having this hanging comma like this might cause something to crash. Sometimes it doesn't. So usually it's a good idea to remove your comma at the end like that. But we may still be adding. So anyhow, Control S, whoops. Control S to save. All right. How are we doing now? Let's go back. And we're more than halfway done. Installing the extension for development. All right. We can install our extension to check if our pages actually work. So let's go to Chrome extensions and enable developer mode. So let's go to Chrome. So here we are in Chrome and extensions. So I just click here. Where is Chrome? This is Chrome, right? Yeah. Okay, so navigate to Chrome extensions. Okay. So I actually need to navigate to Chrome extensions. That's an easy one to forget. It's almost worth making it a bookmark, isn't it? There. Now it's a bookmark. All right, so, and make sure developer mode is checked. Right, so I'm not sure which way checked is, but there's more stuff here. Okay. So this is on, I guess, with the light blue. It was already on for me. Okay. 3 buttons will appear. Click the one labeled Load Unpacked and select the source folder of your extension to load it up. So, Load Unpacked, and we'll select the source folder. There it is, Transcribers of Reddit, select folder. Failed to load extension. It did not like that trailing comma. So let's remove that trailing comma. All right, now let's try it. Load Unpacked, select folder, Transcribers of Reddit again, select. Could not load options page, could not load manifest. I wonder why. Retry. Could not load options page, options.html. Did I forget to save it, maybe? Well, there it is. Control S. Well, let's test the page and see what we get. I'm going to test it in Chrome. So I'll just, I never know how to do stuff in Chrome. I want open. Oh, let's do this in a new window. Okay, file. No, redirected me too many times. Okay. How do I open a file in Chrome? How do I open a file in Chrome? New tab, new window. I don't know how to open a file in Chrome, so let's do a search. Open a file in Chrome. Drag and drop. Open Chrome, select a file from any location and drag it into Google Chrome. Alright, so code projects, transcribers of Reddit, source, options. So option.html, I'm dragging it in. Well, seems to work. View page source. Doesn't seem to be a problem. Inspect. And console. Aha. Failed to load resource. Cannot read properties of undefined. Options.js line 9. Chrome storage local get settings. We don't have settings already. Cannot read properties of undefined. Okay. So, let's see. Let's come back here. Maybe I've missed something. The extension should be successfully installed, but it wasn't successfully installed. That's a puzzle. That's a puzzler. Cannot read properties of undefined. Reading local. Let's check the article for options.js and see if that wording is different at all. Okay, options.js. Local get settings. That looks pretty much the same. Right? Options. Chrome storage local get settings. Settings. Okay, let's see. what happens if I make parts of this disappear. See, this is a pretty standard strategy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to options.js. I think I'm going to make this text a little bit smaller as well. So so I'm going to make this 20, and I'll make this 20 as well, just because if I'm going to be trying some stuff, I'm going to need to be able to see it. Control S. All right, that's better for me. Maybe not for you. Sorry. All right, so we'll close this now. And we'll go into options.js. Okay. And we'll find where this... I'm also going to move this over a bit. Okay. All right. So Chrome storage local get settings. I'm just going to remove this entire thing. Control X, Control S. Now let's see if this will work. It might not still. It might need that for something, but load unpacked. Select. Nope. Could not load manifest now even. See, this is fairly common across these kind of how-to sorts of articles, is that they're trying to do something, they're trying to show you something, in this case how to make an extension, but they do it something really complex so that I can't really tell what's failing. You notice this is the first testing of anything that we did in the entire article, and it fails. And look at all the stuff that we've done, and we don't know why it failed. Well, now it can't even load the manifest. Rats. I thought this would work. I thought it would work. All right, that was that. Okay, that's right. Let's try. Try one more thing. Control Z, Control S. Let's try loading our page in here. Oh yeah, we're right. We have to just drag it in. Okay. And we'll consoleize it. So, okay, reload. Error file not found. Paintbucket.css. Oh, that's kind of weird. Nothing to preview. Is that why it failed? Paintbucket.css couldn't be found. Paintbucket.css. Here it is. Seems to be in the right place. Why would you say you can't find it? It's also not finding util.js. Scripts. Style sheets. Well, I know those exist. Are they in the wrong spot, maybe? Yeah. Let's try reloading it. Console. Can't find ECSS. Can't find EJS. Oh, it's looking for... It's not trying to find a relative. It's trying to find it. Okay. So let's come back to here. There should not be a slash there. There should not be a slash there. When you put a slash in front like that, that tells the computer go all the way back to the root and then start. Okay. CSS, JS, and I'll bet you we'll have the same problem. Popup CSS, okay. And we probably have the same problem with options. So options.html. Why would he do that? That's a mistake. That's their mistake in the article. All right, Control S. Okay, let's go back now to here. Let's reload this. Still not finding it. Source options CSS. Source options JS. Failed. Well, that should work. Shouldn't it? Oh no, because that's going to be up. Maybe it should be like that and like that. So it tells it to go back up. So go back up a directory and then look for util. Go back up a directory. Let's try that. So this is, we're in options, right? And is this what we're trying to test here? Yeah. Okay, let's try reloading it. Console. All right. DevTools failed to load source map. The file could not be accessed. Because I don't have a file paint.css.map. Do I have one in the original GitHub? I think I do, don't I? Because I'm pretty sure there were extra files. Yeah, see options.css.map, which he hasn't talked about at all. And similarly, in options.scss, I don't know if we're looking for those, but well, this might be my fault too, by using the actual source from the GitHub instead of. So why don't I do that? Let's Because that seems to be the problem, right? I mean, it's looking for files that I actually haven't imported. So, okay, let's do it this way. Let's open up a new folder. We'll just call it TRR. Oh, we need it to make it a new folder, and we'll call it TRR. Okay, so now we'll go into TRR. Okay, we'll save those changes. Yes, I trust the authors. Now, the terminal, new terminal, and what I'm going to do is just clone it. I'm going to clone the GitHub repository. I have to remember where to find the GitHub repository. Oops, not there. Okay. So, Tor extension. Oh, transcribers of Reddit extension. Okay. So, here we go. So, now I'll come back in here. I'll go git clone that. Alright. Let's see now. Tor extension. There's our source. There's our locales. German and English. There's the CSS with the other stuff. Okay. So now. So I've got all of the files. So let's come back here. We won't worry about these anymore. Okay. And let's load unpacked. And we'll come back here. We'll go to TRR, Tor extension. We'll select that folder. Still fails to load. Manifest file is missing or unreadable. Cancel. So where's our manifest file? There's our manifest file. JSON. Don't need that anymore. In fact, I just close that right out. Store, service workers. Well, it seems to be everything. Seems to be here. Maybe I have to go to the source directory. Let's try that. Load unpacked. Let's go right to the source. Select folder. Ah, okay. I wonder if it would have loaded the other one as well. Load unpacked. Source. Select folder. Manifest is missing. Huh. That's kind of weird. Because I know it's there. Okay, well, let's try this out anyways. Let's have a look here. Okay, details. Click on details. So there it is. Okay, loaded from. And now how do I run it? Oh, there it is. Here. Okay. And transcribers of Reddit. There's the little button. Manage the settings. Here's the settings. Show comment border. Show comment background. Okay. So that's the radio button toggle. And that's it. And let's try going to Reddit. Alright, and go to the home page. Dive into anything. Okay, well, come on. I don't want this. I want Reddit. The actual Reddit. Not Reddit Inc. Reddit.com. There we go. Shots to show. I don't want to show. Okay, now let's go here. Doesn't seem to show anything. Let's run transcribers of Reddit. Oh, it doesn't do anything. Maybe there's no transcription to run here. That's possible, right? It did change what it looked like, I think. Let's see. Let's try to find something. Okay, let's try this. Okay. Yeah, it didn't do anything. I don't know. Well, I'm going to end this here. It's an hour and a half and some. So, I probably did this to myself. And I probably did it to myself by taking my JavaScript, my options.js, from the GitHub instead of from the actual page. I don't know. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. If I had just gone with what was here, maybe that would have worked. Adding the content script. So, I don't know. Control S. Let me just see. CSS.map. No, it doesn't show up anywhere. Right. And this was gonna happen no matter what. So, and I still don't know if it works. So, yeah. I mean, again, the lesson is, if you're gonna show someone how to create a browser extension, great. Show them how to create a browser extension. Don't do something really complicated that happens to be a browser extension. Just show them how to build a browser extension. You know, there's all kinds of stuff happening here. The localization, okay, well, the localization's part of it, but, you know, taking a Reddit thing and refashioning it, I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what part of this article is browser extension and what part of this is the really fancy thing you're doing with Reddit. If you'd shown me something simple and then moved to something complex, I might not have made the mistake that I made. And I'm pretty sure I made a mistake, although, again, even when this thing works, I can't tell that it works. I don't know how to test that it works. Right? Is there, maybe there's a test page down here somewhere that I'm supposed to use it on? What am I looking at now? CSS tricks. And I have this big crap thing here on the side now that I didn't seem to have before. Yeah, their learning partner. Well, yeah, go away, learning partner. Okay, so see, where is this supposed to work? So really, you should have shown me this maybe first. Ready? I did go to. I remember there was a page that they sent me to before. Having this here too, this big add thing, whatever it is really annoying and makes it hard to scroll in the page. I know you need ads, but alright, let's try to find Reddit. Transcribers of Reddit, okay. I'm trying to find the page on Reddit that we use to test this. Okay, extension should be installed. Okay. Subreddit page. Where am I testing? Where am I testing? Okay, with an image. Okay, like this one. Okay, so here we are, way down here. This is the one we'll be testing it on. So let's go. Oh, this is in. All right, whoops. This is the page as viewed in Firefox. Let's go to Chrome with our thing. And this post was removed by Reddit's spam filters. And, but it does do, okay, so here we go. It moved this up to the top, right? So you see the difference here? So here it is in Reddit. And these are the comments that we see. So here it is in Reddit on Firefox. Here it is in Reddit on Chrome. So it moved the transcription up to the top. So I like that. I like the concept. But boy, it's hard to test for. I mean, it isn't hard to test for now that, I've gotten to the bottom. But, I really would have liked to have been able to test my extension at various stages as I went through, so that if I made a mistake, I knew where it went wrong. So I do have a functioning extension. This clearly does work, although there's more to the extension than met. If I had just done what the article told me to, I'd probably be fine. Okay, I'm going to end it. So that's it. Bye, everyone. Talk to you next time. And I hope you enjoyed it.